Extraordinary leaders are legacy builders. And I do not look for incremental improvements, but I look for solutions and ways to bring their team, their leaders, their organization, their business to the next level faster and with less efforts. And if you are one of those leaders, then you will enjoy this conversation in this episode because I'm diving into mechanics of exponential growth. And what's the difference between exponential and linear incremental growth that so many leaders actually are focusing on and being trapped at? And what's the cost actually of focusing on that linear growth versus what's the benefit and opportunity of focusing and embracing exponential growth? And finally, what it really takes to move from incremental to exponential growth with far more ease, joy, and less efforts, and of course faster. Before we start, I want to welcome, of course, you listeners who are rejoining me again, and thank you for following this journey in the podcast of external leadership. And also welcome very warmly any new listener today. My name is Dagmara Asbreuk. I am your host. I'm a founder of External Leadership, catalyst of external leadership, partnering with CEOs, with executives, with founders who really want to build legacy and high-performing organizations, leaders, and teams and businesses faster and with less efforts. And as I said, today conversation is pretty important because, exponential growth is behind the scenes the fuel of external leadership. I came to create this episode by reading recently a book that is called 10x is easier than 2x, that is written by Dan Sullivan. If you haven't yet come across this book, I highly recommend it. It was recommended by my network. And I really, really enjoyed the lens and the perspectives of exponential growth that the author has exposed in this book. And especially the most important, I think, statement he made, and he helped the readers to understand that the exponential growth is actually easier and it allows you to faster to get to the desired results than the linear incremental growth, challenging the operating mode of majority of the leaders and people in the world, which is all about linear incremental growth. And I was really finding a lot of resonance, first of all, in this book, just because in external leadership, we stand for exponential growth. We stand for, finding ways out of ordinary ways that helps leaders to grow faster and with less efforts themselves and, of course, their businesses, team, and organizations. And so a lot of the principles that has been shared in this book were really, really resonating. And so in this episode, I want to unpack a couple of these principles so that you can actually first of all identify which type of thinker and leader you are and where you find yourself currently and together with your organization and where your organization actually is. So let us start with unpacking, what's the difference between 2 times growth and 10 times growth, between the linear incremental growth and exponential growth. And actually, it's very simple. The linear incremental growth focus on incremental linear growth, right? So on small steps, small improvements. And when I say small, it's not so small actually. Sometimes small is defined by 10%, 15%, or 20% better than last year. That's still a principle of linear growth. Basically, the mechanics is simple. We look at the past results and we think, how can we do it better next year? How can we be 5%, 10%, 15%, 10% better than last year? We look at the goals we achieved last year and we basically multiply it by this 5, 10% better. And in this paradigm of growth, we are looking at optimization and we're looking for efficiency. We're looking for productivity. We're looking for how can we do it faster and better. And interestingly enough, when we are locked in that linear way of growing ourselves and our business and organization and team, we ending up working harder. We ending up doing more. And well, it leads us at some moment to the ceiling and questioning how we can actually achieve more, faster, better, because we are locked in this paradigm of small improvements. And that's one way. That's what describe basically a linear growth. And I've been in that paradigm for many, many years. I've been in organizations that have been locked in this paradigm. One of the organizations I served the longest has even called it Kaizen. That was a very Japanese, obviously, roots organization. So all was in this small incremental growth and operating in this paradigm. Now, what is the other side? What is the exponential growth? Exponential growth, it focuses on possibility. It doesn't, ask anymore. When you are looking at exponential growth, you're thinking of achieving 10 times better than what you've achieved last year, which is exponential, right? Which is big, which is stretching your comfort zone, which feels for your logical mind too much, which feels for your logical mind like it's irresponsible, it's out of possibility, it's not logical, it's not realistic, right? Why it feels like that and why this narrative comes? Because of course it directly challenges our mind, it directly challenges our current paradigm, current identity, current mindset, current operating models, current logical thinking. So it's good because exponential growth operates from possibility, from what would be possible, what's the greatest vision, greatest possibility, greatest potential of myself, of my leaders, of my business, of my organization. What is that greatest vision I hold for myself and for business, for organization? That's the level of questions that you start to ask yourself when you are operating in exponential growth thinking. So what you're literally doing, you are reimagining what's possible. You are dreaming bolder. You are asking question, how could I, multiply the impact, the results 10 times? Why working less? You're not seeking for solutions to do it, of course, with a harder work and grind and hustle. You're looking for different way of thinking and different way of being and different way of leading to realize this bigger vision. And the funny part is that when you start to think in exponential terms, in quantum terms, you really start to get to the core of excitement of what really excites you. And imagine you are shifting actually automatically your energy and motivation. And of course, channeling your brain or your mind into thinking bigger and thinking into solutions that can bring you to that level. When you are focusing on exponential growth, you do not look for the stairs or staircase. You're looking for an elevator. You're looking for an elevator for that new way of leading, thinking, being, strategizing. That is helping you to get there faster and with less efforts. That's how extraordinary leadership and that's how, exponential growth thinkers are coming from. And of course, as you figured, it will require a completely different setup of mental models and standards. I'm curious to hear, where do you find yourself today? Where do you think you are? Are you more a linear incremental growth thinker or are you exponential growth leader? Where currently is your focus? Is it your focus on efficiency, productivity, optimization? Or is your focus on expansion, reimagination, bold vision? You see, the people that come to my mind that you probably are aware of and know that operate already as an exponential leaders, right? Exponential growth catalyst, if you like. We can call it also visionary leaders. Two people that comes to me. For one is, of course, Steve Jobs, who definitely been leading from that paradigm. You see, he didn't ask himself by inventing Apple and iPhone, right? He didn't ask himself, how can I make computers 10 times faster? That would be the, linear growth thinker question. He asked himself, what would it look like to put 1,000 songs in one pocket, in this one device? And what would it look like if that device could do so much more? He went to this visionary mind, to this next level thinking, to the possibilities, and he started there. He started to paint that vivid vision of that product and how this product is changing the lives of others and how it also redefined the industry. And of course, how it makes his organization so successful and stand out from anything else. That's an example of exponential growth and exponential quantum visionary thinking, you can also say. Another, of course, example very close to where I live now is Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. So Sheikh Mohammed is obviously an exponential growth leader because he didn't ask himself, how can he make Dubai a little more competitive than any other city and, place in the world? No, he envisioned Dubai as a global hub for business, for innovation, for tourism, and a city that, like any other, is standing out with something that city like any other has. And it is from that vision, from that thinking, from that possibility that first he imagined in his mind that he started to take any decision in leading Dubai to where it is today and, of course, beyond. In other words, we can actually define exponential growth thinkers as visionary leaders, quantum thinkers. And you see, I'm extremely passionate about that type of growth. Myself, I've been always resonating with the exponential growth thinkers and visionary leaders, those that break through boundaries and what's possible. And so I was always, inspired and learning from those leaders and letting myself guided by those leaders. And I've been also for a long time leading, in organizations that were attached to this linear growth because that's how most of organizations still operate. And of course, listening to me, you have a chance to rethink that. You have a chance to ask yourself this question, okay, what kind of leader do I want to be? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? And if you're one of those leaders who feel this nudge, who feel this calling of, wait a minute, I do want to grow my organization, my business, and myself exponentially. I do want to leave a different legacy. I do want to transform it to a completely next level. And I want to do it faster and I want to do it with less efforts because I want to enjoy life. I want to be present also and have high quality of life. I do want to suffocate myself or burn out. Then you are already activated and you are already one of those leaders that stand for exponential growth. And, like many of my clients, ready to fully embrace it and lead from that place, lead from that visionary place. And maybe like some of my clients, you find yourself alone, you find yourself alone in the organization thinking this way and being that way. And if so, then maybe that is your kind reminder to carry on, to stand out, to be that leader that redefines the future. Be in that energy and surround yourself with other leaders and those that can lift you up to actually lead from that place in your organization and lead from a place in your business, even if you are the minority currently. It reminds me one of my clients, literally, who stepped into an expanded executive role, leading a change, bringing organization to the next level of performance and impact and mindset, while everybody else in this organization has been operating in the linear path, in linear growth, has been thinking how we can grow just small, incremental, how we've done that good already in the past. Why do we need to change that? He was facing that resistance because he came to organization with his 10 times growth aspiration thinking, wanted to, make an impact and shift the organizational performance standing and impact versus the whole environment, which was swimming in a completely different mindset and culture. And the reason he succeeded with that and pretty fast is because he stepped into extraordinary leadership work and he equipped himself with additional resources, tools, and being and thinking that he needed to, unlock within himself to make that vision reality. Because yes, it starts with you thinking bigger and desiring more for your organization and business, but it also, to get there, in order to transform your business, organization, people to that next level, you will need to elevate yourself. There is no, escape from that. And this is where, extraordinary leadership work actually comes into helping you to let go of the old way of thinking that actually stole you from fully embracing and leading from that vision, leading from that exponential growth, and help you actually realize that faster. So I want to share with you the 3 things that you can start embracing in order to move yourself from linear and incremental growth to exponential growth, or amplify, growing faster with less efforts. and step into that visionary legacy leader that you have within yourself. So, number one is ask different questions. Instead of how can I be more efficient and how can I be more productive or how can I optimize doing what I've been doing last year, start to ask yourself different question. And question is, what's possible for me with the greatest potential of myself, my business, my organization, my team that I would like to unlock? What's possible for us? What's the bigger vision? Number two, start to envision. Practicing imagination, developing the muscle, which we do in a lot of different exercises and external leadership. It's so precious. Your brain literally do not distinguish between reality and what you imagined. And that capability to envision a bigger future and bolder and better future for yourself, for your people, for your organization, for your business, it's priceless. It is from that state that you want to actually lead. This is that state that you build your legacy. And believe that what you imagine is actually as real as what you experience today. And believe that what you imagine is possible, is meant for you, for your organization, for your leaders, for your business. And you and others have the potential within yourself to actually get there. Believing, being convinced that this is going to happen, being that energy of certainty is super, super crucial and important. It's realizing, of course, that vision later on. So that's number two, envision, see it, feel it, be there, and believe in that. And a third thing, ask yourself a question, who do I need to be? Who do I need to become in order to realize that greatest vision? And this is a really key question, because in that question, you will start to discover what you need to let go of, what new standards you need to set, and who do you need to become. This is what will reveal to you or start to reveal to you the truth that you will need to embody and embrace the new level of thinking, new level of being, new sets of standards. That's the pathway to realizing your vision faster and with less efforts. I invite you to start with these 3 steps. Try it out. Feel and see what changes when you shift your thinking and when you go to that visionary part of yourself that you have. And start to ask yourself a question of who do you need to become? Who do you need to be more of? And what do you need to let go? I hope today's episode stretched your thinking. I hope that you walk out with clarity of what's the difference between exponential and linear growth, and you are inspired to move and embrace more the exponential thinking, the exponential leading, what will ultimately lead you to building your legacy and evolving your organization and business to the next level with less efforts and more joy and more success. I am looking forward to hear from you how embracing these first 3 strategies goes. So please do share with me that. I always love to hear how this episode, serve you. You can do it in the comments. You can send me a DM. You can express it in through LinkedIn. And yes, if you want to go from trying these first things to really building your legacy and bringing your organization, your team, your business to the next level faster and with less effort, then this is where extraordinary leadership pathways are designed for you, meeting you where you are and offering you the right support, the right level of thinking that you need to embrace, and of course, resources that will help you to embrace this new paradigm, the next level, with more ease and with more joy. And for now, thank you and see you next time.